Hey, Michael, it's nice to see you again on here.
Hey Brian, how you doing?
Super fun. I have all kinds
So,
of stuff going on. I'm actually pretty happy. I got lots of projects, and some of them are progressing. Where we got gardens going on, and the rains are coming, so I'm a very happy guy. What's up with you?
cool. Well, my son's just got back from college, and he's come back as a vegetarian, a convert to um, vegetarianism, which is
Cool.
quite ironic because I've been dieting for the last, I don't know, for the last year or so, nearly a year, trying to lose some weight, which I've been pretty good at. I've lost 65 pounds, so I've done good.
Oh, you look great, man.
And but my son, but that's while that's all been going on, I've had this ongoing conversation with my family at meal times and when we've been together, that why we eat meat, and should the ethics of why we eat meat, and should it be should we eat meat for ethical reasons. We know what the benefits are, and what the risks are roughly. And what the but my position is more from the ethics side. And anyway,
Mhm.
I think that might have rubbed off. My boy met a young lady at college, and he's been influenced by her because she was a vegetarian. So he's come back as a full on vegetarian, bean eating vegetarian.
I suspect that's not an uncommon story where a guy meets a woman and she's a vegetarian, and so he converts at least for a while.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see how long it lasts. But, however, having said that, I think the irony and not the irony, the welcoming of that, from my perspective, has been that, oh, have I influenced him to become a vegetarian, or has it just been the girl? So I've wondered, because and we've had the conversation, and Jeremy, my son, he said, it is an ethical reason. The reasons are ethical. It's not um,
Mhm.
it's not for health reasons. It's purely ethical. So, which
Yeah.
which is a big, for me, from my position. That would be the main reason. Ethical is save the planet, cruelty to animals. The list. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's, I mean, I've read partly a part of some of your ethics, and but you still accept eating meat. Is it?
I do, and we might be in the same boat here because I have some real problems with the industrial meat system, you know, which is some ethical issues. I don't think we should cause other beings to suffer horribly, and some of those beings are animals that really have terrible lives. I also think that meat eating in an industrial sense is very bad for people, and occasionally we might care about people as well. I think it increases disease. The way we do meat, transporting it around uses tons of energy. We're actually polluting the planet. So it's kind of like a long list, which you probably are aware of all the ethical problems we're creating, all the pragmatic problems. Even just if we're just totally selfish pricks and don't care about the animals, we're still hurting ourselves. So at the same time, uh, I ask myself, like, is it bad that my dogs eat meat? Because they will hunt something down, kill the shit out of it, and they'll eat it. Is that morally wrong? Well, I guess it depends on your vision of the world, but that's what they're made to
Well, that's a
do.
great question, actually. If you could influence the decision making of your dog, would you persuade it that it didn't need to do that? And I think the answer would be, of course, you're not to do it, because it has a food source that you supply for it. So it doesn't need to do it. So it's doing it out of a.
That's right. That's right. This brings up a really interesting point. And even though, for example, I think that we evolved as omnivores, we probably came from herbivores. Well, apes are mostly herbivores, but they eat insects and things like that. But we transitioned with fire, and we discovered we could kill shit, and that allowed us to eat a lot of meat. It grew a bigger brain, and we became these weird ass humans that we are. Is that wrong? Are we inherently wrong for being that?
That is right on the button. That is exactly where we have evolved. I think and I think that's where you're coming from. I think we've evolved to be omnivores. We can eat anything pretty much, and we can adapt anything by cooking vegetables as well. That same skill has come through. So as long as we can cook it, we can eat it basically, pretty much. There's yeah.
Now there's an interesting point that we also come to is, even if we evolved that way, that does not necessarily mean we have to do that.
No,
I mean, we now have choices.
but
We know the science. We don't have to eat meat to be sustain ourselves, to be nutritionally good.
Well, we've come out the other side of that, haven't we? I mean, there was a point where we didn't know what was nutritious. Just 100 years ago. I mean, you look at pictures of anyone 100 years ago, and they were thin, they were gaunt, they were like I am now. Everyone was super thin because they were undernourished, mostly through poverty and not availability of food, rather than actually what they could have. But the people that had it, they were fat, and they gorged on it. But they didn't know what was nutritious and what was good for them and what was bad for them, and healthy eating like we do now. It's all been scientifically analysed to a degree. I mean, it's ongoing, but mostly we know what's good for us and we know what's bad for us generally, I would say. And so from a nutritional or dietary point of view, there are certain diets that can be harmful. Too much sugar, too much of anything, and there is actually 1,001 different diets that you could adhere to that would sustain you to the ripe old age of 101. Yeah, most of them are pretty good. The human body is quite good at adapting. There are some diets, but there's some guidelines within each of those diets, and I think the biggest guideline is too much of a single thing will kill you. If you eat, it tends to. Well, I don't know why it does it, but if you eat too much broccoli, you will die. If you eat too much sugar, you will die. Yeah, they both have the same effect. So.
Now, the World Health Organization did come out with a report that a lot of processed meat correlates heavily with cancers and stuff. So on that one, I'm pretty sure like a lot of processed meat's bad. And in general, I think eating food made of food is good. Eating food made of not stuff that's weird. Like if you eat fruits, vegetables, a little bit of meat, nuts, if you're anywhere with reasonable percentage of those things, you're probably just doing 10 times better than people who are eating just constant crap.
Absolutely. My rule, and this is something that I've stolen from another guy. He's a proselytizer for science, and he's an old he is a doctor of biology of something or another, but he's a radio guy. He's from Australia, and his diet, his suggested diet is, and this is one I go by, is eat food, mostly vegetables, not too much.
That sounds pretty good. Now, you've made a change in your life.
Pounds,
you said you lost how much weight?
Since last year. Yeah, well, but I mean...
55 pounds.
That's kilos is half that, so it's about 30 kilos, 32 kilos.
Right, okay. Now, how did you do that?
It was a cutting out. I used to eat sweet biscuits, so I'd have a cup of tea and a bourbon biscuit or a digestive biscuit, and I'd do that 2 or 3 times a day. So I decided to cut out the biscuits, and just because I work night shift, as you know, I couldn't get on the other night when you were on. And I cut those out. I cut them out at night, and I just cut out biscuits, full stop. And within, well, no, just sugar. I was thinking sugar. yeah, rather than carbohydrates. So,
Oh,
well, well,
so the
well,
biscuits are like
biscuits are
cheap
made of
carbohydrates.
sugar,
They're sugar
90%
bread.
sugar, aren't they? They have very little. They do have some flour in them, but they're mostly sugar.
Well, you're talking to a
Well,
gringo
a
American
biscuit
here.
would
I don't know
be
what a biscuit is in
what's an
England.
Oreo? Oh, cookies. Yeah, cookies. Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Okay,
cookie.
so cookies.
You
Yeah.
were eating cookies.
So yeah, a
Ah,
biscuit
okay.
to me is a cookie. Yeah. So cookies are 90% sugar, whatever they are. So
Yeah,
I would eat,
those are full of
half a
crap. Yeah.
packet of those every day, and I thought I'll cut them out. And within a month, I'd lost a stone, which is 14 pounds. And I
Yeah.
thought, gosh, yeah, just by doing that, just by cutting those out, and I didn't tell it.
Wow.
Oh, massive impact, and I hadn't changed anything.
Yep.
I thought, oh
Small
god, this was
change, big
easy.
effect.
And I thought, okay, so what else can I cut out? So I thought, okay, I'm going to cut out pastry. And now you know what pastry is, don't you? It's pies, and I like a good pasty. And I used to have a pasty. So I cut out pastry as well. I cut out sugar,
Wow.
and I thought, okay, well, cookies are processed sugar, so I stopped eating. I would Snickers. Do you know what a Snickers bar is? Yes. So I stopped eating Snickers because I'd have one of those a week, and
Yes, I do.
licorice, all sorts. I've done licorice and chocolate, and I just cut anything made of processed sugar. Anything made of processed sugar, I would just cut it out. And then I thought I'd cut out pastry as well, and so I found myself eating more vegetables as a result because and more bread, which is carbs, which I thought fine. I didn't mind that, but I was losing weight at a drastic weight, and within 6 months, and I changed my diet. Along with this, I thought, okay, well, I read up a little bit, and they were sort of saying, well, it's really important to eat nuts, and the best nuts to eat. Yeah, and the nuts I chose and read about
Yeah,
were
nuts are
almonds,
super good
whole
for you.
almonds.
Yeah.
Um, and they're unblanched, so they're whole almonds with the skin on, so to
Yep.
speak. And I eat 30 grams, weighed out every day, religiously weighed out every day for breakfast. I would eat 30 grams, which is about a handful of almonds, and a banana. And banana, yeah, but they're loaded with sugar, but natural sugar. Oh,
Sweet.
I forgot
Bananas
to
are
tell you
great.
another thing that I cut out was I was drinking about a litre of orange juice a day before I
Yeah.
started my diet. And someone told me, oh, that drinking orange juice is like drinking liquid sugar because you're cutting out all of the fibre out of the fruit. So I think it was my son.
Mhm.
He's just reminded me. My son informed me that drinking juice is like drinking liquid sugar. So I cut that out as well. And whoosh, down I went, down and down I went, and yeah. And it's and along this path, you start getting you kind of start getting motivated for looking at other things that are good for you. So beans, and looking at like squashes and sweet potatoes, and looking at things that you never looked at before that have been there all your life, and other people have done it, and it meant nothing to you, but you suddenly your eyes are kind of open to these sort of areas, and explore. Talking to people like yourself was along that journey. And I remember speaking to you around December time, and I'd lost quite a few pounds by then, maybe most of the weight loss. But I'm still on this journey, exploratory journey of finding foods that are reasonably healthy. And but all the time as this has been going along, there's been one thing that I've been determined that is not to be compromised. I haven't missed a drop. I haven't missed a drop. Okay.
So that'd be wine. The thing is this. I don't think we have to be perfect. I mean, what you've done is you've gotten rid of the crap, right? You're eating food made of food, and you're doing great. And so what if you have a couple vices? And wine is even good for you. So yeah, it has sugar, but it's also there's been some studies that say it's good for you. So I mean, that's the thing is we don't have to be completely puritanical. We just have to
Yeah,
be
I mean, I've looked
80%
at some.
good,
I've looked
and
at. I mean, I
we're
still
way
eat
ahead of
dairy. I
most
still eat
people.
30 grams of cheese a day. I have it's yeah, yeah, and I got one of these little apps for my phone for
Cheese is
counting the
good.
calories, which I found it was just a personal thing for me, and I wouldn't try and promote it. But I found a little app for counting calories, which says, "Oh, count the calories," and if you want to be honest to yourself, it's only for yourself. So everything went in there from water to coffee, which is 7 calories or something. So everything went in there, and it was added up. And it also and the little app I've got allowed me to. I started around after I was into this thing for a few months. I thought, oh, I better start doing some exercise. I felt, because I felt a bit lighter. I felt I could do it, and it just so happened that I inherited one of these cross trainer things, that which is a running thing with your arms and you're cross training like this. And so a neighbour was going to throw it away, and I said, "Oh, I'll have that off you." So it's ended up in the conservatory, and so I spent 30 minutes on that a day. After the first time I got on it, I lasted about a minute, and over a period of a few weeks, I built up, and from a minute to 2 minutes to 3 minutes, and the sweat was pouring off me, and now I'm on it for 30 minutes a day. So I get a little bit of cardio, um, and since Christmas, maybe January, February, I started thinking, okay, well, I'm doing the cardio every day. That's good. I'm doing that 4 or 5 times a week. I've got to try and do a bit of strength training because otherwise I'll lose my muscles because I'm still losing weight. And I started doing these planks, which is like core building, which is just basically getting down. I don't know if have you heard of planks? I don't know if you've heard of doing planks. It's like a push up. Yeah, it's like you go down for a push up, but you don't do the
Oh, is
push
that a
up.
push up?
You just stay
Push
down.
up?
You just stay in the ready pose, and you just stay there for. It's hard. It's really hard, and there's just different positions. You go down on your elbows. You get there's so I do 5 or 10 minutes of that a day, and then I went into start. I've started doing press ups now, and I'm into that phase. And I do well. I started doing like a 45 degree up against a bar, 45-degree press ups. I do 400 of those a day, and I've now gone down to 30 degrees, so I'm doing 300 of those a day, which is a little bit more intense. But I'm just this week I've gone to 300 of those, and that's but I can do it. So I'm looking to just maintain. What I want to do is get down to 300 on the horizontal, on the normal. I want to be doing 300 horizontal press ups a day, but you have to. There's no way I can do that at the moment. I'm not strong enough. I'm too old. I'm 51, so I'm not sure whether I'll be able to achieve that. Maybe 200. I'm not sure yet. And Brian, you frozen man. You might need to refresh. Or I might need to refresh. I'm gonna type something in and see if anything comes out. Ah, the dropout is good tonight.
Yeah, it could be on my end. I'm on a satellite connection, so I never know what will happen. I've been losing connection several times a day.
It could be. It could just be blab.
Yeah, it could be Blab. Let's blame Blab. That sounds funner.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm really happy. I'm inspired by what you're doing. The thing is, like, so many people are trying to take control of their lives instead of just being blind consumers. And I'm not even like perfect at all. And I went to town. I bought a big pizza. I pigged out, man. I was like a big hog. I just ate the whole pizza. and I was really happy about
I
it.
did the same tonight,
But
so
but
don't feel bad. We went to the burger joint. We picked out as well tonight.
excellent. Right. And it doesn't matter. What we have to do is go in the direction of good, all of us. Everybody has to think, okay, what am I eating? Why am I eating that? And you read my food philosophy, I'm thinking about each ingredient. I'm thinking about the system of how we deal with food and holidays and, you know, is food love? What is love? I mean, it's all very complicated. And how much energy is used to produce the food. And so if we just go in that direction in general,
Yeah,
we will win. We will make a
yeah.
better
Something
world.
struck a chord with me reading your stuff just the other day. Was I liked what you were saying about eating food, and eating it raw if possible. That really struck a chord with me. I never thought about that from a philosophical point of view. No, we shouldn't need to cook food, and if we do, and you're talking about, I mean, I know you're working on a visitor based thing, so it's a larger sort of a population of people you're cooking for at any one time, but cooking without using carbon-based materials. So I like your sun oven that you're developing. That's good. And obviously it's not perfect for everyone in the world. It depends upon your geographical location, of course. But I like that. I'm inspired by that, and perhaps in time, when we go, I mean, those sort of things can be realised through photovoltaic panels and things like that. So when we're using natural resources, rather when I say natural resources, I mean renewable resources such as the sun or wind or even wave power. I
Or even wood. Wood is a
Well, yeah,
renewable
because it's
resource.
carbon
It
neutral.
has its
Yeah,
downside.
absolutely. As long as the wood is regrown, if you chop down a tree, you
Right.
should grow another one. And if you're using 50 trees a year, that means you should be planting 50. And if you're burning, what is the burn up rate? If have you done the maths on that?
Well, I haven't done the math on it, and to be honest, I'm not real great with math. I'm mediocre, but that's
Yeah,
okay. All I have to do is ask the right
yeah.
questions, and other people will fill in
No,
the for
absolutely.
me.
It's about no,
Um,
absolutely. It's about knowledge and moving in the right direction. But but
yeah.
I mean, if you're on a big farm, what would be? I mean, that's a great question. What would be, if we were, let's assume that I don't know, 70% of our food needs to be cooked. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
just because we eat beans, we eat vegetables that need to
yeah,
be
that's
cooked.
fine. That's totally
I
fine.
think that would be a reasonable guesstimate. So if 70% of our
Sure.
food needs to be cooked, we need a and we want to be carbon neutral, and our only current resource is wood, let's say, for cooking. How many
Sure.
trees would that require? Yeah,
And that's a question. I don't know the answer to
there's your homework for your 80
that.
acre farm.
Right, right.
For one of your
And
guys.
how can we design how we cook with wood to be more efficient?
Yes,
Because if we cook, for example, on the three rock stove thing, which is very common around the world, it's not only unstable and slightly unsafe, but wastes lots of heat.
great point.
So how can we then design stoves that use every bit of that wood to the maximum effect to cook those potatoes? Because we don't want to eat the raw potatoes, right? We want to eat things raw, but we don't want to eat raw potatoes, and so we want to cook them. And so that's exactly the question:
Yeah,
is how can we come up with the most efficient way to use that wood for the maximum amount of food produced? Also, not just per, I mean, we'll think about it per person, of course, because we're going to calculate per person,
yeah.
but what's the right scale, the size of the pot?
And is it scalable? Yeah,
How many
absolutely.
people should we be cooking for? So this is really, I get off on this shit, man. It's like fun puzzles.
Absolutely.
And right now,
Let's take it back down to a
yeah,
personal point of view, for a
yeah,
single point of view. If you're cooking a pot for one, okay,
yeah.
is it more economical to cook a pot of food that will give you 6 meals, which is 3 days food, because food, a pot, if you cook a pot of food, that will last 3 days without it being refrigerated, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Just covered. So you could reasonably look to cooking a pot of food for 3 days. How much or how much food can you reasonably cook? And could that be scaled up? And what are the definitive and what is the most efficient way? Like as you say, whether it should be charcoal, should it be compressed wood, should it be kindling? What type of fire should be used? All of those resources, should it be dried wood, wet wood, damp wood, smoldered wood? All these different fire methods. What is the most efficient for being the least carbon? Because you want, if anything, it's great being carbon neutral, but what happens? What about being carbon plus? Have you ever thought about that?
Of course I have. Carbon positive, man. You're thinking in exactly the way that I'm trying to think here. You have the idea. When are you going to come visit?
Oh, man, I would love to. I would love to. Yeah, I would love to.
Because this is science in action. This is the science that matters. And I love science a lot. And it's really cool that science can do fancy shit that's all out there. But we got to get back to the primitive science of the things we're talking about. And we are talking about the most basic thing in the world. How do we cook with wood? And we don't know the answer.
Well,
After how many years of human history, we don't know the mathematics behind it. We don't know the efficiency behind it. This is the stuff that's fun to play with, and we don't have to get degrees or PhDs to do it. We can do it now. We can record it on video, and we can entertain people while we're being funny doing it, and we get to eat the food.
Well, you said quite a lot there. I think we do need the PhDs. I think that's why we are where we are. Okay, I think
that is helpful.
And I think that was said with a tongue in cheek when you said that. But I think it's imperative that the detail is worked out. You and I, the armchair. Well, no, you're doing it. So me, the armchair theorist. Okay, you're doing it. You're part of the research. Okay, because you will be cited because that you're actually doing something that can be used as evidence. So your commune or whatever you want to call it could be cited for research. This is how it sustained itself, and self-sustainability and the effectivity of that as a percentage on a scale, whatever it is. So you're actually part of that makeup. I'm just spitting out stuff that I've picked up. Yeah.
But the fact you're even thinking about it is just hugely impressive to me, because we need millions and millions of people around the world thinking like that. I mean, and you are thinking about it. You're thinking about when you walk in the kitchen, your refrigerator.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you brought up if you cook for 3 days and you can have it there, you can eat it. So how big does your refrigerator have to be? How much electricity does it use?
Oh yeah.
I mean, all these things matter. And so all we need is more people thinking like you, and we will solve a lot of problems.
My son's just going to bed. Sorry. Night, son.
It's much later there, yeah?
Yes, it's 1:30 a.m. So
I liked about what you said earlier. I like that you talked about the values you give your kid, but now your kid comes back from college and he's bringing values back to you. Man, that's sweet.
Absolutely, the irony and the it's just people have asked me about happiness and where you want to be, and I'm quite happy where I am, even though I'm in a selfish societal position, in a town, in a city, sucking up the resources of the thing. But I'm quite content with my life. My kids are doing really well. But I've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter as well. She's doing fantastic. Beautiful wife. She's doing great. But we're in this like you say, this society, nothing like where you've been able to land yourself and try and, you know, you've done. I mean, what you do is just. It's almost like a dream thing. We watch programs called Escape to the Country, where you sell your townhouse and you move out, and you know, it's some sort of pseudo realism about living outside of a town. You still commute to work and you're still in it all, but you're just in the rural area, so you get this sense of being part of the country. It's not real. What you've done is the one step further. Not only have you done that, but you've cut off the feed. So there's or most of it, a lot of it.
Yeah, not the internet feed, luckily, but yeah, I have been lucky in that way, and I worked for that, and I'm in a unique position to be able to do that. But we are still all in the same boat, you know. So I try not to be critical of people who aren't doing what I'm doing because I don't like echo assholes, you know. Like people are like, oh, I'm more echo than you, I'm more green than you. Fuck that shit. You know,
No,
we
and
are all.
I've never got that from you either. So that's great,
Yeah,
Brian. You've you're an I've said this from the first time I came on and spoke to you. So you probably don't remember, but I remember. First listening and hearing what you were all about, and just inspiration of. I think a lot of people do have a similar aspiration to what you've actually gone out and done. And is that not your experience when you've spoken to people? They've
oh yeah, oh yeah.
shared a similar.
People say it's inspiring and it's exciting, all this stuff, and I try and borrow their positive attitude because day to day, sometimes it's not actually that fun, and it is discouraging and all that. And so I try and take their thoughts as motivation, you know, and positive encouragement. And I try and just do a better job. I'm working every day at it. Um, and I think that the cool thing is that the consciousness that people have is increasing rapidly. It used to be a lot of people said climate change is bullshit. A lot of people are now saying, gee, maybe we are actually changing things. A lot of people, you know, would say, hey, we can just keep using up all the gasoline forever. We can build forever. And now we're realizing maybe that's not going to work. You know, a lot of people are now seeing that in big cities, air pollution maybe isn't as bad as it was when we burned coal. Like certainly in the UK, when it was all coal, it was really bad, right? But Mexico City has horrible air pollution problems. A lot of places in Asia have horrible air pollution problems. People are realizing we're killing the oceans off. The oceans used to be just filled with life, and now they aren't. And so I'm happy that people are seeing the problem, and not just dumbass,
Yeah,
weird hippie freaks like me, but regular people are saying, "Huh, I care what happens to my children's grandchildren."
yeah. You make some really interesting points there, and there's a lot of ironies attached to what you're saying. I think a lot of the education that you're talking about, a lot of the awareness of what we might consider the common man, the lower end of the scale, which is the mass of society. I would say that the education of those people, well, not the education, well, yes, the education, the awareness of these issues that you've just highlighted, has come about, ironically, through technologies such as this that we're talking through now, Blab, and
Yeah,
the mobile phone, etc.,
yeah,
the internet. Ironically, that the very things that destroy the planet are the very things that are educating us. There's a certain, warped irony. But having said that, I think we can maintain our levels of technology. I'm, I have a sense, I have a belief and a trust. It's not a faith, but I have a trust in what I've read that we can maintain the technological advancements that we have without stripping. Because at the end of the day, our requirements come down to mining and energy. Okay, so we
mhm,
need materials. Okay, and those materials are mostly rocks or minerals. We obviously there's lots of biological stuff for food, but now the food stuff is an engineering issue, and people are anti-GM and stuff. That's an interesting point which we can come back to. But food is one area, but I was specifically talking about technology and maintaining technology such as the internet, mobile phones, and that telephony, that interconnection of human beings of every level of society, not just the people that can afford it, but every level, right down to the people that potentially can't afford it. They should have a right to it. I mean, there is a policy going through the UK at the moment in government saying that people have a right to the internet, to access the internet. So I'm not sure how it's been worded, but they're talking about it as if it's a civil right, like you have a civil right to access to certain things in society. Well, the internet is one of them, and I think that's true. I think because it's become, you have a right to go to the library, you have a right to access to books, you have a right to access to the internet, and I think that sort of, because it's a learning platform and it's an information platform, and
Right.
without
I
it,
tend not to use the word right in that case.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think, I mean, I use the word right in very particular ways. They're very fundamental rights. But I think that there's the idea of social good, you know, and what benefits a society. And luckily, I think that information and the exchange of ideas, the ability to get with everyone in the world and to suck up all the information in the world and learn isn't that expensive. It's becoming cheaper all the time. And I'm thrilled to see it. I mean, when I was younger, I used to have to go to the library and I had a very hungry mind. And I actually drove when I was in high school to a local university to like look stuff up, and it was difficult. And now with Wikipedia and everything else, you do have to learn to sort through, of course, total bullshit and truth, whatever that is. But I'm thrilled that that's happening, and I hope everybody in the entire world gets that kind of thing. I mean, that's the hippie fantasy in the 60s, right? Of like global consciousness. That is literally the global consciousness that before was just this delusional dream. And now we actually are arriving at
yeah, yeah. I get
it.
that. Are we again? That's yeah. You've absolutely described that so well, and I get that same. Absolutely concur with that same sense of uplifting of connectivity through the medium. Are we still being deluded? Are we being deluded, or is that a sense of, I don't know, who knows? But the thing is everybody's life seems to be improving because of it, and that's if what's the measure? So what is the measure that we use for that? Is people's lives are being lifted, aren't they? Perhaps, and and and
There's a lot of areas in which we're winning, and that's true. And I'm kind of critical of my friends who are super optimistic about technology, but we are winning on many levels. Disease rates are going down. Um, oh, I am very critical though too. Like my smart science friends think that lifespan is increasing, but we're actually sicker, at least in the United States. I know the United States more than other places. People in the United States are actually sicker than they were before. Their lifespans are increasing. This year, for the first time in a very long time, lifespan in the United States decreased by 1 year. I just read that this week. Now, there's
okay,
some reasons for that. My fear is that our lifespans are increasing, but it's all fueled by cheap energy and a lot of civilization that we can't support. And so, but we're actually sicker. We have more diabetes. Obesity is a huge problem.
right,
We
okay,
have, we're developing superbugs with antibiotics. And so I'm totally kind of on the fence with that. And I'm very suspicious of people who are like, hey, we're going to have this big fantasy tech world where everything's great. Because I think we built it on unsustainable resources. That's the pessimistic Brian.
no. I kind of get where you're coming from, and there is some sympathy towards that position. There's a couple of things that I would ask you to ponder. on what you've just said is okay. So life expectancy has gone down this year. Okay.
Well, and it might just be a data bubble. Yeah.
Right. So is that indicative of the trend? Is the trend still up? Okay, so we must,
The trend is
this is
still
a
up.
climate denier's position. This is a
The trend is
classic
up.
climate. Right, so the trend is to go up. So we mustn't lose track of the big picture. Is all I'd say on that position. So don't let 1 year's data set deter you from a trend. Yeah. So if people's life expectancy is going up, a dip could be talked about as noise. Yeah. So we must be aware of that, and yes, and it could start a new trend, and it could be plateauing, and it could be on a peak, and all of the bell curve and all that. I'm fully aware of that, but the validity of that would be historically made, and we can only wait to see what the.
We're looking at, I mean, other things like we're learning how to figure out how aging works. It could be that you and I even we're a little getting older there, but certainly very soon people could be living for 150 years regularly. That could entirely happen.
Well, if that was happening, then the death rate would certainly be going super high. But yes, I mean there has been talk, and I've heard this one, and you'll like this, that the first person to live for 1,000 years has already been born.
I had not heard that, but it's entirely reasonable. It could be that we essentially can defeat death as we know it. I mean, by our standards. Because right now, I mean, people my age start dying of heart attacks pretty quick. And so if you make it to 100, you have done amazing. And so it's totally possible that someone could live to be 1,000 years old.
Yeah. I mean, and we're living in times of AI where heard of the singularity and all that story, and I'm sure that rubs you in a bad way because you're a much more down to earth grassroots guy. But I'm sure you're aware of it. And there's been some really interesting chit chat and rumors on the internet this last month or so, especially with. Did you see the Elon Musk interview?
Sure. I mean, I have tons of friends who are extropian transhumanists, so I'm very familiar with the singularity.
So these are what you would call hot tub talks, where you get drunk, you sit in a hot tub, and you talk about these things. And are we all in a are we all in a simulation, all that sort of thing? But that let's presume that that's just fun on the side. But I was talking about the progression to the transhumanism. It might not be that AI takes over and consumes us. It might be such that, and this is what's actually coming through actually a lot more in the philosophies that I've been coming across and being made aware of, is that the transhumanist change will be a progression, and it started actually quite some time ago, and it started when we started to use tools way back millions of years ago, and it's on a ramp. It's on that ramp curve, and and the thing that will change us from being biological into non-biological forms, if it's to happen, and we're going a bit off piste here from diets, but if we just allow me for this, is perhaps the transformation will be through gradual assimilation through additive implants. So what it started off with things like face paint and makeup, and then it went on to glasses, and then it went to fillings in our teeth, and then it went to a cornea in our ear, and then now it's gone to eyes that can be replaced, and internal organs that can be replaced from others. Now we're looking to grow them in a 3D printer and outgrow them artificially. Soon it may be, and there's certainly mechanical ones, the pacemakers, and there's hips are mechanical, parts of our bones are So
Yeah. We're
there's,
becoming cyborgs.
yeah, I mean, and so is there a point where well, getting to the crux of it, because at the bottom line is consciousness, of course, and so or a connection, an IO from what we perceive as consciousness to be able to react in the real world, and that into that IO connectivity. So where you have a paraplegic in a wheelchair that's completely paralyzed, has an implant put in their brain, and they can move an artificial arm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who's to say that?
That's done now. That's working.
Yeah, absolutely. You know where I'm coming from. So at some point, you don't need the body anymore.
Right. Right. I mean, there'll be a
And
point at which, maybe regularly
well, you could
people
have a
have
body.
their body is replaced. And also, there's other interesting stuff too that you didn't mention. I mean, you're mentioning all the shit that is cool, but I mean, even our gut flora and fauna,
Yeah.
the stuff living within us, because we're not just our own DNA. We are a collection of organisms.
No.
What happens when we have like organisms living in my skin that are doing photosynthesis? So if I'm out in the sun, it's feeding my body. What
Yeah,
happens when my
collecting sugar. Yeah,
why not?
absolutely. Created, absolutely. All of that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and, and this is
Absolutely.
where
Yeah. So you don't even need food.
this is where my techno optimistic friends are coming from, in that we are so fucking smart that we can partner with other life forms, we can engineer life forms, we can engineer materials. I mean, there will be a point in which over 50% of someone's body is manufactured after their initial embryonic development, and that then might call post-human. They're more not human than human,
Yeah,
and yeah,
absolutely.
it's all possible. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can even imagine,
Yeah.
even though someone could say like I'm a Luddite or I'm anti-tech, which I'm not. I'm just very careful and suspicious. But I mean, you can imagine that we could, terraform the entire world, which is funny because it's already Terra, right? But we could alter the entire world, so we're channeling all the oceans, so that we're maximizing productivity. We could have a population of 60 billion, which may not even be that impressive. I mean, we could talk about Dyson sphere. Have you heard of a Dyson sphere?
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure what it
If I
is.
recall
So
correctly,
please
I think
explain.
it's where you actually build something around the entire sun or star that you have to use all of its energy. So it's kind of far out sci-fi. I have one interesting thought. Well, I have lots of interesting thoughts, as do you. But one interesting thought, one interesting concern, um, and that is, where is everybody? If we live in a universe with so many planets, right? And this is called the Fermi Paradox. I don't know if have you heard Fermi?
Yeah. I was just about to say that is the Fermi question,
Right.
isn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Where
So,
is
so
everybody?
my theory is currently, and I really think I'm right, unfortunately, is that everybody kills themselves. We get so smart at using energy. We get so smart at building up an immense civilization. We get so good at using that energy, collecting it, building up, that we then build something that collapses. Now, I've brewed beer before, and I'll tell you what yeast do. They have a sugary water, and they eat the sugary water, and they build the population up. The graph goes up, fast, fast, fast. Everybody's reproducing, reproducing. And it's exactly the graph that you'll see since 1800 when we started using fossil fuels. For a long time, humans were very stable. Very small number of humans. Do. Fossil fuels. And this is unlikely to continue to 60 billion people. Maybe it could happen. But even after 60 billion, we're still going to continue the same fucking thing. Okay, so we're here at 60 billion. Oh shit. Oh shit. Boom. That is my guess why there's a Fermi paradox.
Well, okay. The curve is not unreasonable. But in order to draw that curve, you would have to be putting definitive reasons into that curve.
A whole bunch of them that we can't even imagine.
Sure, the unknown unknowns. Sure, I get that. But for each negative unknown unknown, there's a positive unknown unknown. So that's a you could extrapolate that to be a cancelling out argument.
But we got one planet, man. We got one planet.
Yeah, and you could look at it from the point of view from what we have now, the technology curve that we're on. We're developing technologies. We seem to be going along a path of self-destruction. There will be some divisive positions that we're forced into ecologically, planetary-wide, because of climate change. We're going to have to make changes. We're not going to get a choice in these things. There's going to be global warming. There are going to be mass migrations because of sea rising. So those things are going to happen. It's unstoppable. At least over the next 100 years or so. Whether they recede and we might have another ice age. We don't know what's going to happen. These are unknown unknowns.
Yep.
It could trigger another ice age, and we could go the other way.
Oh, totally.
Everyone could be going south instead of north.
I already went south.
Yeah. Well, you could be one of the first to come back. but that's an unknown, as they say. And so all we have is what's on the table at the moment. We know there's global warming. We know we have a set of engineering technology that enable us to do certain things. Whether there is a political backing and will to make certain things happen, like reforestation, renewable energy sources, I think we'll be forced into that, to be honest, because we'll exhaust them. Oil, our dependency on oil, America actually has made drastic, not drastic, but quite a big, especially since Obama, he's made some big changes to changing the dependency on Middle Eastern oil. That seems to be my take on it, from the things I've seen. And correct me if I'm wrong. Do you get that sort of sense, or do you think that he's
I haven't followed in enough detail
allowing
actual Obama policies, and in general, I don't think the commander-in-chief is in charge of all that much. I think they're a voice.
When I say Obama, I mean the current government, the current people that are in charge.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that Northern Europe has done some amazing things. I think that if you want to look to some people really doing some massive experimentation, I would look there. Scandinavia.
Yeah. Well, look. I hear something that might be really intriguing. Switzerland. Did you hear about the Switzerland vote the other day? They actually voted. Yeah. They rejected it. Okay, but it's been tabled. The fact that it's actually been a referendum on it. I mean, look at that. That is just a huge movement towards the way of thinking that we should be moving towards, in my opinion. I mean, I've been thinking this for many years, and I'm not privy to the implications, all the implications that are involved with basic minimum income. But to Americans, it sounds like communism 101. But it's not. It is not. And but it certainly on the surface looks, it means that anyone can bum off the. No. What it means is that the 90% of the cash that is profits that goes to the 1% is not going into their bank account and sitting there doing nothing. It means it's going back into the system and being used. That's what it means. It doesn't mean anything, but affecting 1% of the population.
And I think, I'm outside my normal realm here, so I don't agree with myself already. I think that I'm really happy if people experiment around the world with different ways of running their societies. I think that's really, really good idea because the way most societies are run is really evil. I think that societies are run by bullies. I think they're run by
Fear.
violence, torture, and war. I think we rape the earth and we're fucking up heavily. So if some people in a country want to experiment with some other things, I think that's great. I would like us to get back to a word that is used in every revolution. And then immediately, as soon as the revolution is almost over, somebody else takes over and destroys it. And that word is liberty. I think that you should own yourself. I think you should own your own means of production, your own labor, that you should be able to freely contract with other people about who you want to work for or not. I think that you should be able to pay for the services that you want from the state or not. And I don't think they should be able to force you, like a slave, to do what they want you to do. In other words, we're trying to solve the inequality problem, the 1% problem, by enslaving people more and have more of the same problem. Now, again, I'm not saying I even agree with myself here, but I think that this word liberty is really important. But also, I'm an environmentalist and I want to protect the land. And so I'm not saying liberty to go fuck the oceans over or liberty to go burn down the forest. And so I don't know, man. I'm a little confused.
Yeah, and I, I, I completely agree with your sentiment um, to a degree, and I'm confused too. I don't have the answers of. It's not black and white, um, because I think it was who was it? Who was it? Winston Churchill said that democracy is the worst form of government in the world apart from all the others. uh,
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that
yeah,
quote, and I like I like
I
that
only heard
quote.
that the other day, and that actually I did that just happened when I was thinking about these things, and these thoughts that we're having at the moment, they've been passing through my mind the last few weeks. I don't have the answer. I don't know. There is no global answer. Lots of little bites at the apple have got to be taken, and there'll be small improvements, and the trends will be set. But there are some major things that are happening that are uncontrollable, which is global warming, which is us burning fossil fuels, etc. So we've got to stop that, and there's got to be an incentive. The current way, the best balance for peace between individuals, and we currently have borders. Europe is going some way to dissolve borders. It's one of the first movements, apart from the United States, when that was attempted, but that fragmented and became what it is. Here's a new version. They're looking at dissolving borders and becoming the United States of Europe, divided by language, not by borders. Which may disseminate into a global language in 20 years if it all happens. Um, but if it all goes ahead as planned or as not planned, um, then we may see a Europe, the country of Europe, which is based upon equality rather than and some of the things that you mentioned, such as liberty and human. It's very what's it called, what we at the moment call PC based, which is a bit of a bad word at the moment because we're going through some changes, but it's about being thoughtful towards other people's opinions, and whether they're reasonable or not is debatable, but the principles behind that are correct, that we should be respectable and give each other's chance at liberty, and be liberal in our thinking, and not be forceful from a top down. It should be from an equality based society. Unfortunately, or fortunately, which the society that we have is capitalism at the moment. That's based upon the exploitation. As you know, capitalism is based upon the exploitation of somebody for profit. And this is where the problem lies fundamentally with capitalism. I don't know what the answer is to that, unless you go back to a kind of a Marxist position, where the value of something is based upon effort, personal effort, and it's measured on that, and that is monetarized somehow. And that for me is where my puzzle is. I'm stuck between the Marxism and capitalism kind of equilibrium, or finding something that melds the two together. Because I think capitalism is exploitative, and Marxism is kind of, it gets to a top down because you're defining it before it's to happen, so it's definitive for the state. So I'm confused, like yourself.
Anytime I use those words, I disagree with myself as soon as I say something. Marxism, socialism, capitalism. I don't even know what they mean. I have friends who are capitalists, and they believe that you should be free to own your own labor. I have friends who are Marxist, and they believe that you should have control of your own labor. And neither of those systems, in practice, as I see them, lets you own yourself. They always end up being somebody owning you. So it's
Absolutely. Yeah. Confused? Yes. I put the tick
yeah,
in the box for me. Who knows? So at some point you've got to sit down and say, well, okay, well, this is how we're going to do it. This is okay. So we don't know. So we'll draw up a set of rules. They might not be perfect. Read the Churchill statement. They might not be perfect, but better than everything else currently we have.
yeah.
That's where we are.
And it sounds like neither one of us is a very good fascist. 'Cause we're not exactly sure who to kill or who to control.
I'm telling you,
Uh,
you will do it
well, I'll
this
tell you
way.
what I'm doing. And with the Bosque Village project,
Yeah.
I am actually making more and more rules about how things work. The good thing is I don't have a military, and no one's required to do it, and they won't lose it. It's all voluntary. But I'm actually making more rules than less. When I started this project, I thought, uh, I want to make it like a festival culture.
Lost you, man. You need to rejoin.
So yeah, it's a big project to collect all that knowledge and actually respond to all of it.
Wow. Um, the other
Cool. I got your link there.
yeah. There was one other set of books. Now that guy writes about this is the set of books. It talks about things. It's called the culture novels. There's a set of 8 or 9 of them. I've only read about 7 or 8 of them. Fantastic read. Some of them are a little bit self-indulgent, but I find them a little bit tiresome to read because they're just a little bit too far out there for me. But it kind of is answering the space-time continuum, why we're here, and longevity of life, and how you can live forever, and all that. It just answers all those questions within the novel set. But you have to read them all to get the kind of thread. But there's another set of books I've been reading recently, and it's a set of 4 books. I've just recommended it to my friend, who recommended those to me in return, and they are by a guy called William Hartling, and it's called the Singularity series. And you've heard of the Singularity, obviously, but they're focused on the next 50
Yeah.
years or so, and these are fictional books. There's a set of 4 books about the potential, how things are going to play out over the next 50, 40 years or so. in regards to the singularity and leaning towards AI and how that might work and the things that might happen. It's all fictional, but it's based on fact, and it's really relatable, especially coming from a slightly IT background. It's really used. There's quite a lot of IT stuff in there, and I'm going to try and paste the link to you for him as well.
Cool. Well, and I wrote him down too, so Google will help me.
Yes, Singu.
Yeah.
Singu. I've got them on audiobook. If you want them on audiobook, I can quite happily pop them over to you.
Nah, I like to read. I'm a very fast reader.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I'm going to send this link over to you as well. And
I'll recommend. Yeah.
It's just stuff that I've come across that we've been having a good talk. I don't like promoting stuff, but this is just things that are relevant to what we've been talking about. If you have
you can totally promote cool shit.
Yeah.
Great. I'll open that up. The only two sci-fi things I can recommend to you, which you may have already heard of, and I don't know that they're enlightening, but they're interesting. I mean, sci-fi has a lot of really bad crap in the genre, but I really enjoyed the Red Mars series.
Red Mars, I've heard of that.
It's a trilogy,
and
the author's name is something or other, but you can look up Red Mars.
Kim Stanley
trilogy.
Robinson.
Yeah. And I like them because they really do a good job at mixing the human end of things, of a group of people over a time period with terraforming of Mars. And there's some hard science in there, but it's not overwhelming. So you don't have to be like hard science. You don't have to be too into the people. It's not like, Conan in space or something stuff. So great books. I really enjoyed them. And then, of course, you know about the Foundation trilogy.
Is that
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's 3 books.
If they're on audio.
And so try the first one, and if you don't like the first one, then don't continue. But believe me, all 3 are good. Sometimes by the 3rd book, a trilogy sucks. But in this case, they're all good. The other one, which is more old books, but I think super interesting, is the Foundation trilogy.
Right. By the same guy?
You know about those? No.
I've heard of this.
It's really good, and it's interesting on like interpersonal kind of level. But I'll send you to
Foundation series.
By Isaac Asimov.
Isaac Asimov. Is that who you're talking about? Okay, Asimov is a famous.
His best work, but I love the scale of it, and I actually think that even in terms of my own tiny little weird project, what I'm trying to do is design a new human culture. And so we have to look at the psychology of who we are, the DNA of who we are, all this fucked up shit we've referenced in this conversation, and say, what can we actually do? Because when you look at the concept of designing a human culture, it's really fucked up idea. The people who have done the most powerful things on that are really some evil motherfuckers. I mean, who did that? Hitler, Mao. I mean, that is fucked up shit.
Well, purely from a philosophical point of view, let's be pragmatic. What is the best thing for the planet at the moment? Let's remove 50% of the human race.
Yeah. Or 90. Well, 50 probably might be better. Yeah.
You could argue that point, and that would have a dramatic effect on the environment if you want to equilibrate. But we're not.
And if we could save the knowledge, we could actually then grow more carefully or do things more carefully. There is a group called the Voluntary Human Extinction Movement.
Yeah.
I've written on Quora about what would happen if we had 1 billion people. That's my actual target. 1 billion people would be great. 1 billion people is what we had in the year 1800. And no, I'm not suggesting we go kill 6 billion people. I'm saying that we could target that. We could start reproducing less, we could get to a world in which the oceans were filled with fish and life, in which there was tons of forests, in which
Self-sustaining.
every child had tons of resources, everything we could give their head available to them, all safe. We could get rid of fuckwads, assholes, sociopaths. You know, we could.
Con-
I'm gonna just become a crazy hippie. Now, if I had some acid, I would take it right now. But you know, it is actually possible that we could have a wonderful goddamn world. And
but
I know a lot of people don't have hope for that, and I don't have hope for that.
so
But I want to, and I know that there's a path to it. And in my tiny little raindrop in a fucking storm way, I'm so tiny. I'm doing everything I can to go in that direction.
well,
And I
well,
know you are too, because you're thinking about it.
well. Thank you for giving me the credit for something that you're leading in. But I sympathise with your position. So yes, absolutely. A billion people is completely realistic, sustainable. There are some statistics um, that show that you've heard of the bell curve. You know what a bell curve is and how it works. And so populations are based on
Oh, yes.
population statistics or future population statistics based upon data show a curve, and the current trend is up. However, the things that affect that curve are there are a plethora. There are a multitude of influences that affect that curve. However, there are some huge influences on that curve. Economics is one, okay, but by far the biggest is the emancipation and education of women.
Yep.
And you gone blank. It's like the men in the high castle are watching us. It really is. You've gone blank.
What the problem is, it's a bad USB connection on one port.
Hey.
Yep. I just switched it to another port. It's better.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, cool.
Hardware.
Oh, man,
No,
we were
continue
just
with your
getting
thought.
somewhere. Cool. So what was I saying? Yeah, so back to the point. You know, so the emancipation of women. Okay, it has been shown scientifically, time and again, where women are educated, um, the economic growth of that village, town, country, area
Mhm.
goes up, and at the same time, the birth rate goes down. Okay, it's been empirically shown, demonstrated time and time again. So my thought is through my positive thought would be that through the enlightenment and education of people throughout the world through technologies such as cell phone and the internet, education of women and the emancipation of women will grow,
Mhm.
and that bell curve will reduce population. Now, based upon current empirical knowledge, we're set to peak at 9 billion. We're currently at 7.5 billion this year. Over the next 20 years or so, we're set to go up to 9 billion. But after that peak, I'm going to go out on a limb here and make a positive claim and a faith that I believe that as long as we don't mess it up, I mean technology-wise through through some stupid restriction of technology. That as long as restriction to education is not restricted, I think the emancipation of women and the education of women will increase at increasing rates. So there'll be an not an exponential, but there'll be an increase rate of education through the lower educated parts of society on the planet at the moment. So I think that bell curve might come down quicker than we think. The peak of the bell curve might come down from 9 billion, which is the current forecast, down to about 8 to
And then we could
8.5,
see some
which is
kind
a
of
reasonable
like ecological stability,
guesstimate from my
and
armchair. And so the return,
it's possible.
yeah, down to 4 to 5 billion, down to 4 to 5 billion, which is a massive, absolutely. And there's, I'm going to post a link to you.
Is it hands rolling?
It's called Our World in Data. I'm going to post the link. Hang on, let me just find it for you. No, this is a guy. This
Cool.
is just a guy. Is Max Rosa? I'm gonna just give you the title page because you can explore it. This is like, it's just visualization of data, but just go and have a look here and look up. Just explore, have a bit
Our
of fun
world and
there,
data.
and just go and have a look. This is empirical
I bet
data
you I know who this guy is.
made into
No, it's a
graphs,
different guy.
and it's
It's a
really
different guy.
useful.
Max Roser. Well, I will look at that. I have not seen that.
It's just.
I'm going to also send you a link. And this guy is really funny, and he's awesome. Hans Rosling. He does TED Talks.
Cool.
And he looks at the exact same thing talking about is, family size is reducing because of education, because of women's access to birth control, urbanization resulting in less need to have more babies and less child mortality. So all good shit. So we'll see. I mean, and for me, this is the more optimistic
Yeah,
view. I mean,
absolutely.
like I said,
I
we
think
could
they're
go to a
singing the
world
same
of
song.
60 billion, right?
Yeah,
That's not optimistic for me. I like your optimism better, that maybe we'll
of
top off at
course.
9 billion or something, or 10, whatever. And then we'll be getting smarter, and we'll be seeing the ecological impacts of what we're doing. And we'll say, okay, we don't need to have as many kids, and we're living longer. Maybe we could stabilize, and maybe we could actually have a population descent, with still technology that's cool. So you never know. I mean, maybe there's an optimistic future.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, just this month, Turkey, for example, the government of Turkey have the prime minister, whatever he's called in Turkey, has stipulated that the population of Turkey needs to improve. So he's encouraging childbirth in Turkey. He feels that there's not enough people being born in Turkey. We need to increase the population. Go figure, yeah, go figure. So, there is a monetary. Unfortunately, when we live in a material world, and the mechanics of the material world, whatever that might be, mostly through the economics of the Western world. Influence seems to be the more people you have, and you've dropped out again. I'm going to keep on speaking though. You have dropped out. I'm going to type it so just in case. I don't know whether you can still hear me. But the more people you have, the more money you seem to reap in through taxes and workload, etc., etc. That's not necessarily true because we're going to be moving, and you just dropped completely out, but you're still up the top there. He's coming back in because of I don't know if you can hear me or not. Assume you can. Coming in. completely. Okay, cool. So, well, I don't know what's going on. Maybe refresh your browser is the only thing I can think. Oh, that's not a bad idea, but I don't know whether that will help you. I think it seems to be you that's dropping out. Your connection seems to be losing to a certain length of time. It seems to be dropping out every 15 minutes or so. So maybe you've got a screensaver type thing. I don't know, maybe not. I would suggest you close your browser and restart it. If you copy the address from the address bar in yeah, okay, that's cool. Okay, cool. Great talking, Brian. Yeah, cool. Great talking. We'll catch up again, I'm sure. Great chatting, man, and respect, and keep harvesting the sap, and I'll keep drinking it. Man, great chatting.